you guys should be able to. If you ever have a problem creating a class, let us know. Email us, text us, because I'll reach out to the administrator in the back end, and then he'll just click you. So sometimes that happens when you've never opened a Google Classroom. So to start a Google Classroom, you are going to go to the plus button. Some of you probably started one already. But those of you who haven't, I have my little cursor in the upper right, and this is exactly what the students are going to do as well. They're going to hit the plus button. So I'm a teacher. I have join or create. If your administrator wants to communicate with you through Google Classroom, then you'll join it. You'll be the student if your principal or your AP wants to do that. For you, you're going to create a class. So when you click on create a class, you only have to name it. So if I name this online learning test class, whatever you want to name it, I will recommend right away, though, that if you have a Google Classroom already, you rename it, and this one you name with your last name, because if you invite your administrator, he or she is going to have 30 classes to choose from. And if you just put my class, or if you just put 2020, it might be a little confusing. So I would highly recommend you put your name on it. In fact, I should probably put my name on it. Why not? Good modeling. You don't really need these sections. You can ignore them and just click create. So it's going to create a class code. Yeah, there are ways to change that code if you don't like it. Let me know and I'll show you how. I don't want to take too much time with that right now. But look at how it's showing me a pop-up window. Invite students to your class. And of course, we all think we need to invite them, but what we're going to do is simply share the code. That code is a little messy, and I can always change it. But I'm going to say, got it. These pop-up windows happen for you. I'm not new to Google Classroom. I'm not sure why it's happening for me. But usually when you're new, it definitely happens. And for the students, if they're new to Google Classroom, it will happen for them. They'll always get these pop-up windows, and I know they'll stop and say, hey, teacher, what do I do? But you just hit got it or the X. It's just the little tutorials that Google wants to do to make it easier for you. Your class code's always going to be here. And if you're, see, my internet connection is unstable, but you could probably still hear me. So the class code is never gone. So you don't have to write it down. You don't have to keep it somewhere. All you have to do is log into Google Classroom, pick the class you want, and there it is. For example, this is my home page. I'm going to the hamburger, and don't worry too much about this, but I'm going to that hamburger menu on the top left. If I click on it, and then I click that little home icon, I could see all my classrooms, and I have a few. So that's good to know. That's why we want to name them carefully. So I click on the one I want, and it's here. It's good to go. Students don't have emails, so inviting them doesn't work well. And we cannot invite parents because it has to be someone with a palmdalesd.org ending to their Gmail. It has to be in our domain. So parents can only get, you can email them a summary, but that's all you can do. So that's why we're going to use Class Dojo, Remind, maybe even a phone call to get kids this class code. If you find other suggestions that your principals give you, or if you jump on Dan or Steve or Melissa's trainings, they may have some other ideas. Right now, we're saying that your communication methods, and they're listed on that white paper, that policy paper that the district pushed out, the ways that you can communicate. So once you give them that class code, and there are some videos that we have, if parents need it. Chris Jones, my boss, has made up a slide deck for parents to help guide them through the process, so kind of a little tutorial. So that's really nice.
No.
So now, once you're on the stream,
Jerry,
you can, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have a quick question. Does our class code stay the same? Will I always have the same class code for everything I do?
You'll always have the same class code just for this class. So if you make a new class, it'll be a new class code. So, I mean, students can join, they can join in June if they want to. The only people who need this code again are the kids who are new to your class, and that class code stays the same, doesn't change.
We don't have to make a new class if we already have. Okay.
You do not.
And people that do make a new classroom, you have to always do it through Stream, correct? Through Stream when you make your new class.
Stream is just after you make your class. So once you've made a class, or once you have a class, you have these 4 options: Stream, classwork, people, and grades. So these are areas or menus or pages, as it were, inside your classroom. Stream is just a communication. That's all it is. It really doesn't do anything else. So Stream is not the best. You don't want to make assignments in Stream that you're going to collect. You don't want to do anything too complicated in Stream. But you can, if you wanted to communicate with your classroom, you can post your Zoom or your Google Meet link, because once you click on it now, I can give a notice. In fact, I can actually give a Stream a notification to certain students potentially. But share with your class, you give them a little announcement. Hey, it's good to see you. I hope to see you. Here's my meeting link, so you can chat with me live. You know, we're going to meet up as a synchronous meeting. You can also add a website. We have these options of things that you can do. But Stream is really just for announcements, just for a shout out. I honestly, these things here, these choices are more for assignments.
I have a question.
Except maybe for a Google Hangout link or a Google Meet link.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
I've never used Google Classroom unless someone has signed it to me, and like the principal or a class. I've never had my own class. So when you said we share the class code with the parents, I do use Remind. But how do the parents go in again to Google Classroom?
Parents don't go into Google Classroom
at all.
At all. They really, I mean, they can look over the kid's shoulder. So
well,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm kindergarten, so the parents are gonna have to share with us.
You're right.
So how
they have to sign in? They have to sign in with their kids' Google ID, which is every kid has one, and so it's not a problem.
Right.
So you're right. The parents will go in and they'll sign in. They'll go to classroom.google.com or ClassLink, and then they'll go to they'll sign in with 1004430 at palmdalesd.org.
So they go to google.com first.
Yes. Or classroom.google.com. And then Google asks you to sign in. And students all have their ID number, same ID number used for all the things. And all they have to do is they put their ID number in and they add at palmdalesd.org. So it is their email, but they can't look at their emails. But every student in the district has that Google login. And as you know, their password is their 8-digit birthday.
Okay.
And you can actually, give them their ID number, but privately. Don't share ID numbers, obviously.
Each individual when you send it the Remind. So I have to give them their ID number and their because kinder we don't use any of this stuff. So I know the upper grades, most of them probably know how to log in and do this, but this is totally brand new for kindergarten. So
definitely,
you're telling me that I need to give them 2 things, right?
Well, and here's, let me show. I'm going to move over for a minute to this. Let me show this form here, and take a moment to write it down. You don't need the HTTPS. Because I don't have a co-host this morning, we'll fix that. tinyurl.com/V7W44QM. So I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to put it into the chat, which is what I meant to do before.
Okay.
She said. very successfully. I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to do it that way. All right, so I'm going to put that into the chat for everyone, and I'm glad you reminded me. Thank you very much. Someone reminded me there. All right, so I put that in there, and I'll probably put it in again a little later so that you can ask that question. So volume a little bit too low. Good. So yeah, please feel free to use that. Now, if we're going back to classroom, say once students are on, they're on forever. It's not a problem. Your code doesn't change. Everything's good to go. Stream is great for announcements. You might think about putting your Google Meet or I'm sorry, not Google, Zoom web link in there. If you do, you can press on here. And like you said, parents are going to be helping. But the place you're really going to be living in Google Classroom is this page, Classwork. So if you look at the top of the screen and you see next to Stream, it says Classwork. And we click on that, this is where the magic happens. So this is where you can actually create assignments. So when you click on Create, you're going to pick Assignment. And there are a couple other things you can pick too, but for right now, we're going to stay on Assignment. If you're somebody who's been using Google Classroom, you want to know that you can use Reuse Post, and that's a good one. You can select, okay, so if you've had a Google Classroom of old, you can reuse from any Google Classroom you have. If you decide as a PLC, as a team, to share work, to collaborate, and maybe have this person do science and this person do language arts, or however you might want to break up the workload. One idea, and we'll talk about that more in intermediate class, is that the 3 of you, 4 of you, however many, can set up your own Google Classroom just to stick assignments, and then you can repost them. So it's a place that we can gather work together, which is really nice.
Jerry, this is Diana Torres. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I just have a question. I know the teachers were asked to add admins as co-teachers to their classroom, Google Classrooms. How do they do that?
Say again?
How do teachers add their admins as co-teachers on Google Classrooms?
Right, thank you for reminding me, and we definitely haven't done that yet, so let's be sure we do that. Okay.
In our delivery.
So let's see. Hold on.
Jerry, I'm sorry. I couldn't
Mike is not muted.
I couldn't hear the question, Jerry, because she had background noise. Sorry.
Yeah, we are adding administrators. So, and let's do that right now. So once you've got it created, let's do the add administrators first. And that's a great idea. And that just goes under people. So it's next to classwork. It's right these top 4 menu items and teachers. So we just hit the plus sign, invite teachers, and then we added administrators email. For example, I might say, if I put in Stacy Williamson, her name comes up, I click on her, now she's a part of my class. But she's a teacher in the class so that she can help if we're out or if we need help, maybe you've got a sick day. The administrators can actually be assistants. Not only that, but they're learning a lot too, because a lot of the administrators we have haven't really used Google Classroom yet. They left the classroom maybe before we really started using it. So we're all going to add them in this area right here. So that is an important piece.
Jerry?
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that a lot of our notices and memos that we've been getting have suggested that we create a Google Classroom for our whole grade level at our school, and then all of the teachers from that grade level can teach from that class. And
yes.
So,
yes, and I mentioned that just briefly just now, and that is a great idea. I would say that we should really dive into that even more tomorrow, because that's a really good way to help coordinate work and collaborate with your teammates. If we have time, actually, at the end, let's talk about that some more. That is a great idea, and you don't have to do it, but it's really nice to do.
I have a question.
Jerry, I have a question. Your PowerPoint, does it go through the steps for adding a class or creating a class?
No.
No. Okay, because my screen, I don't know what's going on with my screen. I was looking at something else, and so I do have a Google Classroom already set up, but I was wanting to know about creating another Google Classroom, and I wasn't sure how to do that.
Assignment.
So what we can do is we'll have this recorded. I'm not sure anybody wants to listen to my beginning. I was so nervous this morning. I'm feeling better. Thanks to everybody. But yeah, we also have some videos and cheat sheets. And in fact, what I can do is if you fill out that form, and let me put it in again. One more time. I'm going to go and put it in this way. If you fill in this form, I will get it to you. I will get you the cheat sheet. And let's see. So I'm going to give this to everybody again. Let's see. I'm not even sure I made it live, but yeah, it went live. Good. So I'll put it in there again, and be sure, and I'll get you, we've got cheat sheets and videos and materials, not to mention the fact that I can walk you through it as well, so that we can have a more generalized approach in here. So that's good. Thank you. It'll be easy to do, and it's easy for the students. It really is. And at the end, we're going to do a question and answer. So see, I'm getting better at this. So create is your friend here. So once you hit create, you're going to do assignment. And once you hit assignment, now the only requirements are that you title it. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, create. At the create button, there are a few magic tricks in Google Classroom, not too many. One is a create button. One is anytime you see 3 dots, those are good to click on, see what's underneath those 3 dots. Also, any kind of an arrow or a V shape. There's always something hiding under there. So that's good to know. The thing that you have to do is title it. So I'm going to say practice assignment. And you want to give it a title that's going to make sense to you, so that when you look later, you'll understand it. And the title's kind of important. It'll also make a folder in your drive, so that you'll actually have this in your drive all the time. So students who receive the assignment will keep it in their drive. You'll have it in your drive. And now you can or cannot put instructions in here. You might want to put a few bullet points or a paragraph or something. That's optional, as it says. But here's the really cool part. Once you click the add button, you can pull something that you've created right out of your drive. If you've got a graphic organizer that you like, if you've got a cause and effect chart, maybe you've made your own because you've taken Google Docs and put together, what the students are supposed to do. Questions, something along those lines. That's a really nice way to do things so that the kids get started. You could put your directions on that Google Doc. Maybe you have a Google slide. Students are going to share what they enjoyed in their home recently, or what do they like to do while they're hanging out with their family. Different things that they want to share, perhaps. And they can do another all about me. I mean, it kind of makes sense to reestablish a new classroom with this online learning. You know them, you've got a relationship with them, you've got expectations in your classroom, but you're going to be kind of starting fresh in some respects, right? With this new online platform, going to be establishing expectations and teaching in a slightly different way. So it might be fun to do something like that. If you have a web link you want them to have, and you can copy and paste it, nasa.spaceplace.gov or whatever, that's my favorite. You can add that link. You can also get something off of your computer. If you have a PDF, something you've purchased off of Teachers Pay Teachers, and I know worksheets aren't the best all the time, but sometimes in a situation like this, they might be what you need. You can pull that right off of your computer, and you can also add a YouTube video. When you add a YouTube video, let me finish this for just a second. When you add a YouTube video, you're actually going to, you could do video search, but we don't recommend that so much because you don't really get a chance to preview the video unless you know, and that's fine. My favorite way to do it is to go outside, to open a new tab, go to YouTube, look at the video, right? Be sure it's appropriate. Then I can grab the URL. So I can copy and paste the URL of the address at the top, stick it in here, and it'll stick the YouTube video in there without commercials or anything. It'll just be sitting right there for the students. So this is definitely something, if you've got younger kids, that yes, parents would help with. You'd be surprised though, when the kids get used to this platform, it's the same place they go every day. They're used to clicking on it. They actually get really good at it. And we've got a couple of bloggers, they're preschool teachers and kindergarten teachers that use Google Classroom and advertise it, and also Google Slides. Google Slides is kind of a fun way for students to get started, so that might be nice to do. We had a question.
I have a question. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you do like a copy of something, can the kids write on it? Or
yes.
Oh, they can.
Here's the trick, and thank you. Here's the trick. That was our next thing. So let's say I add, and I'm going to go to Google Drive and let's see, recent. Of course, I had something kind of ready, but right now, honestly, we're just going to grab whatever we can. So if I grab this thing and I click add at the bottom, now here it is. This is the only other trick that's really important from the other ones I've mentioned. Before you click assign, which is in this top right, you have to do this. And now each student gets a copy. So that's the magical part. If you forget and you click assign, you have to delete it and start over. Just only takes a minute or two, really. So because right here, you say make a copy for each student, and now every student has a separate copy of this Google slide, which I preloaded with an activity, or I put a few instructions on, or maybe it's just blank even. I mean, I can start the Google slide for them, especially the kindergartners. Say, add photos of your room, or add photos of your yard. What begins with A, or maybe for older students, right? You have a slide, what's the beginning, middle, and end of the story? Or what is the character analysis here? You know, what do you think of the character? Add your writing here. So I think for sure we should have a Google Slides tutorial coming up this week or next week. We haven't really fleshed out all the things that we think teachers need. But I think Google Slides would be a good one, and get ideas that actually can go from TK all the way up to 8th grade, obviously. Upper grade students already probably know how to use Google Slides, but there are some really cool ideas for the little ones to use Google Slides as well.
So it just has to be make a copy for each student, and they're still able to write on it. Okay, great.
Yep. Okay. They write on it, and then you collect it.
And they can submit.
Yeah, okay. They can submit it. And I'm going to show you
just make sure you do that, because I've had it where kids completely delete the whole assignment if you don't make a copy for each student.
Oh, okay.
Well, and it's something to be said that maybe you want to try, and yes, this could be an issue, but maybe you want to try having all the students work on one slide deck so they can see each other's comments or responses. How do you feel right now? What have you been doing to, you know, to keep you busy over this long vacation? I mean, you really can. Now, yes, they can delete it, but if they all say students can edit file, now you've got a chance for them all to work on one slide deck, and that collaboration piece is great. It's messy. It's oh my gosh, it is messy. And
Jerry, this is Jackie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you just model typing on that? I just want to see how it looks. when the kid goes in to make a copy, what will they see?
I will show you that, and I'm going to show you that right here because I do have some
All right,
screenshots.
thank you.
So, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and put this on present so it's larger. When students hit the plus button, I'm kind of going backwards just a little bit. This is what they get, just so you know it's what it looks like, student view. And all they get is a code. All they have to do is put the code in as long as they're signed into their ID number at palmdalesd.org and their password. So when students get the work, they'll get these little tutorials, as I mentioned. You guys get them too sometimes. They get a pop-up window, and they just hit got it, or they hit the X right here. Got it and the X. And this shows the students that you can give them a private comment on their work, and they can give you a private comment. And this could be great for continuing that conversation with kids, that relationship building, that differentiation, right? So that's what it looks like on the students' end at that point. This is what it looks like when they, after they get those pop-up windows done. This is what it looks like when you give them an assignment. So here's the name of the class. Here they see the assignment. They click on it. They can see it in the top of Stream, or they can see it in classwork. So Stream can get, if you've got a lot of announcements, Stream can get a little bit buried. But whatever you put in last will go at the top of Stream. But if they go to classwork, it'll be right there for them. And adjective project, you can actually put a class comment, which is nice, to all the students. But this is what it looks like for them. So they actually click here. So I'm moving my mouse around so you could see. They click here to open it. So they can't really work on it in this screen. So they do need a couple clicks. That's why I say that the littles, they do get used to it. It's kind of amazing. But, and I might be able to, there's a blogger who's got some screenshots that she's made up with little arrows on them. So she's given the students some screenshots on how to open up assignments. But once they've got that, they're pretty good with it. So they click here. When they're done, they're supposed to click turn in, but frankly, you have access to it even if they don't do that. So this is what it looks like for you. So when they do, and I'm going to go back for a minute, when they click on this, it's going to open up in a window. They can type on it. They've got edit mode. They've got the Google slide that you've given them, or the Google Doc. And as I say, if they click this button, great. If they don't, it'll look like they didn't turn it in to you, but you'll still have access to it, and you can still turn it in for them. So this button isn't the end all be all. So this is what it looks like to you when you click on it. Now, if you go to view assignment, you'll be able to see exactly what you told them and gave them in your instructions. But it'll also open up here, and notice how it tells you who turned it in and who didn't. It'll open up here. Actually, it opens up. Let me show you live.
Jerry?
Uh-huh.
Hi, I have a quick question. What if the document is in PDF form? They cannot edit. How do they write on this document if it's PDF?
And that's a good question. If a document is PDF, then you might want to upload it into Drive as you can turn it into a Google Doc, or a slide might be a good idea, and put some text boxes on it. If they're older students, you might want to have them add Cami extension. Students can do that through the Chrome Web Store. They can add.
You know, you were breaking up so bad I couldn't hear your answer. Can you repeat one more time?
You can open it up inside a Google slide, perhaps, or a Google Doc, and have them type on it that way, or you can have them add Cami, K-A-M-I. It's an extension. They can find it in the Chrome Web Store. So yes, they cannot type on a PDF normally, but you can add it as a picture or screenshot, or you can add it into a Google Doc or a Google slide, and then they can type on below it. So that's another way to do it. There are a couple. I actually have a video which is pretty good about that. Which if you go to the
ask the question?
Google Docs, you can ask, and I will send you some information on that. Go ahead.
Can we convert the PDF on Cami ourselves for our students? Because some of them, I don't know, just in case.
You can take a Cami document and type on it and give it to them, but they can't type on it unless they have the extension.
Oh, okay.
And it used to cost money for the students to have the extension, but not for the teachers. It's free for teachers. I don't know if they've opened it up or not, but I know if you want them to type on it, turn it back to you, they're going to need the extension. And I don't know if, as I say, I don't know if it's free right now. A lot of companies have opened up some free time for the next couple months. I don't know if Cami has or not. But that is definitely a good thing to look into, and they can add the extension. It might be free for them to add right now, to send back to you through the Chrome Web Store.
Is there a site? I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a site that you can go to that already has like worksheets that they can write on? Because I know I use like education.com. Teachers Pay Teachers, but most of those you have to like print them out.
Yeah, you can upload a PDF, but they can't write on it. So no, it has got to be a Google Doc or a Google Slide for them.
Do you know if there's like a website that already has them created like that? No.
Right now,
no. But I do have a video that I can share with you and some information. So as I say, reach out to that form. And I can share that with you in terms of how you can do that.
Jerry?
There are simpler methods and more advanced methods for
Jerry,
doing that.
this is Anna. I have gone on to the PDF where it says where you can put your Google Slide into a PDF to protect it. Well, once you do that, you can also go to the text box and you can put a text box in the Google the PDF file, and you can put edit text, and the students can write on that form that way.
Yeah, let me outline the steps on that either at the end of this, or I can send it to you as well, because there's some tricks for that. There is definitely a trick or two for that. So thank you for bringing that up, Anna. So if you want the trick for that, definitely reach out, and maybe we can even talk about that because we might have time actually.
Jerry, I have a question.
Been along pretty good. Yeah.
Are the kids able to, if they're not able to write on the assignment, can the parents or the kids print out the worksheet at home?
Sure.
And then somehow complete it and then take a picture of it completed and upload it?
Absolutely. They can take a picture of just about anything they want to, and a worksheet's a great idea, especially for the littles. So it works best with phone apps, but even with a Chromebook, if they borrow a Chromebook from their school site, they can actually hold it up, take a picture of it with a camera app, which is there under apps on their Chromebook.
Okay.
So if they click on the app circle, and they can take a picture of it, and they can upload it into Classroom. As a matter of fact, let me take a look. I do have, and it didn't work too well last time. I was having some internet connectivity issues. But let's see if I can show you on that student view. I may have lost it. What it looks like. Yeah, you know what? I had to close it up. Students can hit that Add or Create button. Let me show it to you from the screenshot at least. So if they hit that that button here, they can actually add things. So let's see. Let me move this. So here's this button, Add or Create. They can actually add a picture from there. They take a picture on their Chromebook, or if they take a picture on their phone even, and add it to their drive. So all they have to do is have the Chrome app on their phone, which is free. I'm sorry, not the Chrome app. Well, yeah, that too. Google Drive, the Google Drive app. And I'm always holding up that triangle shape. I seem to be a big visual learner. So that triangle shape, if they have that app And that's true on any tablets or devices. On their Chromebook, they just hold it up, take a picture in their camera, and then move it over to Drive, or click Add or Create. And for example, if I was to open up a Google slide deck right now, and it doesn't work on Google Docs, I do not think it works on Google Docs, but if I open a Google slide, and then I have this Google slide here, and I click Insert and Image, and I know it takes a minute for the kids to learn this, but you can write the directions down at bulleted points, right? Go down to Camera. Now I can just take a picture of that worksheet. So
your
yeah,
screen is not sharing.
they can print it out. It could be the connectivity issues. I think I'd have trouble even if I didn't live in Acton. It's on a Google slide. It's Insert, Image, Camera. And that would actually be the best way for students to do it. So if you had a worksheet for them, as Anna recommended, you can just give them a Google slide to turn it in the work on. Like I said, they could print it out at home, take a picture of it, and then submit it through a Google slide deck. And once you made a copy for every student, it's going to come out really nicely. Hopefully I'm sharing my screen now. So if I go, in fact, I'm going to go to a different class to show you what it might look like.
I don't see where the create button is.
I unarchived a class. So if I go to a class such as this one, that's not really the one I wanted, but that's okay. Oh, here it is. Here's my science class that I unarchived. So here's a class that I had some things on. When you add a link in assignments, then you actually see a little thumbnail of the link, which is really nice. And students can, let's see if I've got something. You can add all kinds of things for them. Let me go to classwork. And let's see if we've got something here. So I've got 20 students have turned this in. This is what it looks like to me. I've got a copy of a worksheet that I made. If I click on View Assignment here, and I can click directly on this Google Doc, but if I click View Assignment here, it takes me to this page. And I actually really like this page because now I have all the students' work right here. And in fact, because these kids are 8th graders and they've left the district, you can't see the pictures, but you actually see a little thumbnail image of every student's work. Now I can make it go large. I can grade it. I don't have to grade it. We love you not grading right now, our ed tech department, but just giving feedback because the focus right now is just on supporting them. I could see who has turned it in and who hasn't. And this is an old class from years ago. So we could see who is missing. I can go back to instructions. And
Jerry?
here's what I given them. Yes.
Hi, Jerry. It's Jennifer Gilreath. I was wondering, how would you go about like reading logs or practice logs? Would you do that under Google Forms, or would you be doing that under a different format when you're creating the assignments?
My favorite way would be to have every student have a Google slide deck, and then each slide could be a different journal day. So they can even push the new slide deck up to the top. So that's my favorite way to do journaling. It's how we do our EdTech newsletters. We just fill out one slide, push it to the top, and then all the other slides are down there. So you can actually have students journal every day. That's my favorite way to do it, personally. I also want to mention, someone put in the chat that Teachers Pay Teachers has some Google Docs available right now. So that's interesting. So that could be something to look into. And I'd love to have people share, and it's tempting maybe today or this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon to just jump on and give everybody tips. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, tips and tricks on Google Classroom or what you've found. There's always 3 or 4 or 5 ways to do something on Google, which is wonderful. Can be a little annoying when people say, well, how do you do it? You have to really find your favorite way. Yeah, my favorite way is definitely Google Slides. It's very versatile.
So you add a Google slide for the read and log? Is that what you said?
That's my favorite way to do it. There's always more than one way, but if you're comfortable with Google Docs, maybe do a Google Docs, and they can add to it day after day. In fact, what would be kind of fun or interesting is to have the students all work on one Google Doc. And of course, you will have to talk to them about, digital citizenship, making good comments, supporting each other, not being negative, not being silly, although maybe you want them to be silly. Maybe you give them a shared Google slide or shared Google Doc and let them be silly at the beginning, get it out of their system. Another thing that we do have that's something to know is, and let me go back to my practice page. I'm going to go hit that three hamburger menu. I'm going to hit classes, click on classes, and I'm going to go back to my online learning class here. I wanted to be sure that you saw that not only can you make an assignment in classwork, but you can also create a question. You create a question, they're not turning in a Google Doc or a Google slide, they're just communicating in this question. So they're talking to each other. Now, if you haven't established classroom rules for online learning, that could be a problem. You want to establish your expectations, your guidelines, your social contract ahead of time. Talk to the students. Maybe that's during your synchronous time. And then you can let them talk to each other. Either you ask the question or, and I want to mention this, the stream. They can talk to each other on the stream. Now you might say, oh, my kids are little, or they're too silly, I'm not ready for that yet, or I have not established classroom procedures yet. Understandable. You need to do one thing before you're ready for the students to jump in. If you haven't established those things yet, you want to go to the settings wheel over here in the top right. I hope everybody can see that. Top right settings wheel. You want to click on that. And here is something. You scroll down. And of course, here's where you can rename it, just for the record, because as I mentioned, if everyone's inviting their principal onto their Google Classroom, then you want to name it with your name, right? But right here under General, it's just a little bit down. Scroll a little bit. Students can post and comment. I still think it's a wonderful thing, but your class may not be ready for it yet. Maybe it's something you move towards. Maybe by the time we get to May, you'll be ready for them to do that because they'll be used to it. So at the beginning, you probably want to change that to only teachers can post or comment. That's probably what you want to do at the beginning. But that's up to you. You are only students can comment, so that in the stream you're going to get, hey, hi, but they kind of want to talk to each other. So that's up to you. You have to decide on, your kids, your students, and maybe you can establish the expectations pretty quickly, and then students can go back and forth. You can always give them private comments, though, especially in their assignments. And it'll say private comments, so it's only going back and forth. They can comment back to you, and then you can comment to them. Here's the place where you would change your code. This code looks weird, so I might say reset it. So and here I can just click copy. Now I can open up Class Dojo or Mine, and I can just stick it in there. So send it to the parents. As you said, if they're K1, they might have their parents, doing a lot of this with them, which is great. So that's important. And here's where Guardian Summaries. If you click this on, and then up here in People, I'm going to click off of Class Settings now. I'm going to go to People. I can email guardians, but it's only going to be a summary for them. Now, obviously, if they're working in the classroom with their student, you know, that's a little bit different. But they'll, anything outside our school district domain, any like gmail.com or yahoo.com or whatever it is, it's going to just be a summary of the assignments, what's due, what hasn't been done, what is done. And that's where, when you make assignments, you might want to think about putting a due date on it. So notice how this one isn't pushed out yet. It's gray. If I click on it again, you could see it's gray. I'm in classwork. I'm on this one assignment I've made, but it says draft. I actually haven't posted it yet. So if I want to post it, I can go here, edit, or I can delete it, right? I can go here, edit. And now I've got that assign button right up here. I can actually save it as a draft, which is what you saw, the gray, right? It's grayed out, it says draft. I can schedule it. I can hit, oh, I'm going to do it for next Monday or this Friday coming up, right? I can do that. And one thing to know, if you do schedule it, well, it shouldn't matter in terms of scheduling for the time that it's due, because we might mention if you put a due date on it, which is actually a great idea, then it's going to default to midnight. You might want to change that. But if you put a due date on it, then it's going to go into Google Calendar. That's great, because now the students can use their Google Calendar and they can actually see what's coming up. And it's also a good place to put your Zoom or Hangouts meetings. Hangouts and Google Calendar work beautifully together, so that when you click a calendar event and you click create, right? You're creating a calendar event, and then you just add conferencing. And next thing you know, under conferencing, it'll allow you to do a Google Meet. Actually, I still call it Hangouts sometimes. They're changing the name. It used to be called Google Hangouts, and then they started Google Meet, and now they put the two together. So it's Meet Hangout or Hangout Meet. So either word is appropriate.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This Archibald, two questions. When you were saying how the parents get a Google summary, is there anywhere the parents can go to a website would tell them how to do some of these steps that we're asking them to do? Is this something like a generic?
As a matter of fact, there is. My boss, Chris Jones, actually just made a Google slideshow for parents on that. And there are actually a lot of resources. So I'd be happy.
How do we get that?
I'd be happy to share that with you. If you go to, in fact, let me stick it in here again, which is a great idea. I'm going to put it to everybody again. And thank you guys for your patience.
Yeah, and then my second question is, when you showed us that survey thing so we can get videos, I don't know where to go to get that. I went to my Google Classroom, but you said you shared it with us. I don't know where it's at.
Here it is right here. And what I'm doing is I'm collecting your needs, your questions.
Oh,
so that I can, yeah. Because what happens is, for the other webinars, we have somebody else helping to answer questions, but we don't have anybody helping today except maybe each other, which is why I kind of left everybody open so you guys could all help me out. But yeah, we're trying to do, yeah, the survey thing is my way of reaching out to you today. Because
you haven't
I'm not
sent that out
doing
yet.
No, I haven't. No.
Okay.
As soon as I'm done with this. So it's nice to, once I get better at this, I'll be better at like keeping an eye on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, keeping an eye on the chat would be great, but I'm new at this and it's hard to do the webinar and the chat. So it's great. We're learning so much. It's great. But
so just wait for that part.
Yeah, just wait for that part. And plus I want to do some Q&A and in fact, we might be almost ready for that. Let me answer one more question that I did see on the chat. Haha. I did see something there, that you really can assign different work to different students. So once your students join, you really can. Now, this class, I only have one student. Hi, thank you, Camelia. But you can do that, and that's good to know. So if you have different students, that if I go back to like this class, from a long time ago, right? And then I want to reassign something, or let's say I want to start a new one. I hit classwork, and I can click on create. I'm going to click on assignment, and then I can say, please share all of your goals and created games. I don't know, I'm making something up, right? I can actually, and now I'm not even I should attach something, but if I don't, the kids can actually create their own right here. If I don't add a Google Doc to it from my drive, they can create their own, or I can create one right here on the fly. I could go, oh, there's a doc for you. Okay, I could do that. Okay, it's taking me out to the doc, and I could say, create a game. So I could just start it right here. Create a game. Game here. Something like that, right? So I'm just being basic with that. Of course, I didn't title it. Title it, create a game. So now I can make a copy for each student, but I can actually assign it to certain students. So now I can differentiate. Click here, and now I can say I only want it to go to Brian and Daniela and David. I want a different assignment to go to these other students. So it's nice to be able to differentiate that way. So thank you for that chat question. I'm sorry I'm not keeping up with the chat so well. If you do have, you need resources like the slideshow that Ms. Jones made. If you, I've got some cheat sheets. Go ahead and fill out this form, and I will send them to you on email, Gmail, whatever we call it. So there you go. I'm going to stop my share for a minute and take a look at, say hi to everybody, and try to open it up for questions and answers. So I think everybody's able to unmute themselves. Or perhaps we should do the hand raising. You want to try that? I know you guys tried it earlier, and I wasn't very good with it. Questions?
Hello? Can you hear me?
I know some things I wasn't able to go into a lot of detail, and in part, I think because this is like the beginning. This is the first class of all of them, which is, as to say, I'll be a little more fluid next time. But we're doing this. Steve's also doing one. And if you're feeling like, I don't know, it was a shaky connection or she went too fast, you can join Steve's at 1. And I'm going to try to jump on there, or so. I think he has a co-host for that one. So there'll be someone who is able to answer questions. But also we've got intermediate tomorrow. I know I've got an intermediate Google Classroom at 10, and then one at 1 o'clock. And hopefully we'll have someone, who can help answer questions in the chat then too. And then maybe I will have pushed out some materials to you. I think the tips and tricks, like how do you do a PDF? There are different ways to do it, and I love that Anna Troya mentioned one. But that might be a good place to share some of those tricks too, because creating one is just really hitting that plus button. Teachers hit it, students hit it. And we do need a shout out from you with your name if you don't have the create a class on that plus button. Let me be sure I just share that plus button one more time for anybody, just for a quick moment. Let's see if I can do this quickly. And I have the stability.
Can you tell us the class code one more time?
Yep. So if I go to home, when I first go on Google Classroom, here's where I land. Of course, you may only have 1 or 2 classes. These are classes I'm a student in, maybe from being in a professional development, or classes that I've started. So here's the plus button. It's the same for students. It looks the same for students. Click on that. You should have join class and create class. You do have to reach out to us, email, use that form I gave you. Stay on the line because I'm going to keep this going for a bit. and we'll be sure we reach out and get you that create class button. Remember that this week is just a transition week. There's no pressure to have everything ready to go tomorrow. We're just doing it bit by bit, little bit at a time. So
Jerry?
once you've hit that, hold on just a second.
Okay.
Once you've hit that plus button, right? Then you open up your class. You name your class. You got to do that. And then it opens up, looks a little bit like this. And now your code's right here in front. It's kind of tiny. That's fine. You can make it bigger. You can actually do this, which I don't know if you'll need unless you're doing some synchronous learning. If you're doing Google Meet or Google Zoom, Meet, Hangouts, or Zoom. Okay, Google is Meet and Hangout. Zoom is Zoom. You could do that. You could blow it up, make it big. But it's always there on your front page. It just lives there. It's also under the settings button. It's also here too, under settings. So those two places. So we have another question.
Did you say you were going to go over how to merge your classroom list? Because we've divided up the work between the 4 teachers, and I don't know how to make it all in one Google class list. Did you say you were going to go over that in the intermediate class tomorrow?
I am, but you know what? We have a couple minutes here. Let me say that what our recommendation is that you actually create a new class that's just for the you guys.
Okay.
So you would have a class, one of you would create a class. You would actually add your other teachers on it under people. People's like profile and all that. So you would put like the 3 of you. And then you won't need any students in this class. You won't have any students. What happens is when you go to the stream, I'm sorry, not the stream. We don't really use the stream that much, as I mentioned, just for announcements. Oh, hi, Holly. You go to classwork, right? Then when you hit create, now this is on the class that has students on it. So you've actually moved over and you're on your class with all your 3rd graders and you hit create. This is what you're going to use. Because all the work, all the assignments that you've created with the 4 of you or 3 of you, you've put in that new class. You can hit reuse post, and now you can go to that special class. That special class that's only for the 3 of you. That's only your PLC.
4 of us.
4 of you, right.
Does it have to be titled? Does it have to say just like 3rd grade online learning, or does it have to just have your name, or how do you title it, or it just doesn't? It just goes out to their list. I don't understand.
No, you title it the way you want. Have maybe a grade level lead create the class and add you. So have one person create it and add you. And then all your assignments can go in there, and then you just reuse post. So you don't have any students in that. Call it a PLC.
Okay.
Call it something that you'll know. You can title it whatever you want.
Okay.
But it needs to be titled
for our team. Jerry, I made one for our team, and I invited you to it if you wanted to show it. But I just named it Cimarron 2nd grade. And then I invited our admin, and I invited all the teachers, including special ed. They might use it, they might not.
That's a great idea. And that way if someone says, hey, what do we do for this? You could say, hey, check out the classroom. I invited you. And then they can just reuse post. So it's really all about this reuse post. Don't invite students to that special classroom, right, Holly? Yeah. So don't invite students to that one that you're just making for teachers. In fact, maybe you should put teachers only on it. But no, I think you guys will be fine. And that's a great way to share the work. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm confused now because we were going to invite all the 2nd graders to that class.
No, I wouldn't do it. Have your own class, and that's up to you. I mean, you may change your mind on it. Think about it, talk about it. But that way, when you go to look at the work that's been assigned, you're going to have 90 pieces of work to look through. You know what I mean? So think about that first. Because if all the kids are in it, that's all very nice that you share the kid. Maybe you want to. Maybe you want to all grade it, share it, and that you could do that. Like, you grade this assignment, I'll grade that assignment. Not grade it. Let's use the word feedback because that's what we're talking about, not grades.
Right,
So,
but we
yeah,
were
so you
thinking
could.
about dividing the subjects or something. I don't know. We're going to be meeting this week and talking about it, but
Yeah,
so that's why I'm
definitely
asking
meet.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely meet and talk about it. But consider it that if you have the students, all the students in one class, and you're going to have, 90, 100, whatever, 120 students potentially that you're looking at on one assignment. So if you have just the assignments on one classroom and then you reuse the post and reuse it in your classroom, now you're just giving feedback to your students because it could be overwhelming otherwise. It's just a thought, but think about it. You might want to share all the students all the time. You really might.
Okay, thank you. That'll be
Yeah.
something that we talk about.
Yeah.
Can you briefly go over how you assign certain students to a document? Thank you.
So assigning certain students, still sharing screen, really happens here. I'm going to edit assignment. I haven't even pushed out yet, and it's going to be over here. So, lots of people join my class. Maybe this is where I should push out. I hadn't even thought of that, some of those resources. So I'm going to unclick all students. And now I'm going to click on the ones I want to assign work to.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's important. And before I forget, don't forget that when you give, let's see if I can go back to teacher view, right? Here is, let's see, present. Here is your teacher view. To click on view assignment. Always click on titles in Google. Google likes it. If you're having trouble clicking and you click around, nothing's happening, find the title of what you're looking for and click on that. So that's a little helpful hint. So you click on the work and you can return it. You can return it with grade. You can return it with private comments. Check out down here. That's nice. So I can tell Pluto, whose work this is. Actually, this is Fifi. I'm sorry. I can tell Fifi, I can give her a private comment. She gave me a private comment back.
Oh, I found classwork, create.
So that's nice. If I click again on this assignment, if you see up here where it says Fifi Fido and it shows a slideshow, I can give her comments right on her slide deck or her Google Doc. But see, this square with a diagonal arrow always means open it up big screen. So if I click on open it up big screen, it's going to make it big, and now I can comment right on her doc. So here it's going to send it to her through Google Classroom. It's going to be a private comment, which is a nice conversation we can have. Then I can return it to her. I don't have to return it to everybody. Like this is just a screenshot I made of returning it to just Pluto, right? So I can return it to these two students. Maybe they've worked on it. I don't need grades for this, right? But I can give a comment to whoever I'm returning it to. So this comment will be for all of these. So what I do is I click return work. Then this comes up as a pop-up screen. And I could say, you guys are doing a great job. Please keep thinking of new ideas and sharing them. Brains do need a good workout. And now I click return. And this comment is going to both Fifi and Pluto. So it's private. But that comes up when you go to return work. Students can't, once they've turned in work to you, they can't keep working on it. So you either need to return it or they need to click unsubmit, which they can do. And then they can add more to it because we kind of like that idea of revising, right? Oh, do a little bit more here. Flesh this out. Oh, I really love what you did here. Can you do it on this page as well? That kind of thing. Hopefully that helps. I wouldn't.
As far as our classroom aids, are we able to add them to Google Classroom without them actually, like, I don't know, without them grading?
Yeah, well, I would. They'll have access to everything as a teacher does because I would add them. You would add them as a teacher if they have a palmdalesd.org, a Gmail. But I would just establish parameters and boundaries for them. Say, hey, come on in and you can do this, this, and this, or let me know first.
Okay.
There's either teacher or student. There's nothing in between.
Okay.
Yeah. So keeping in mind, and I'm going to stay on the line here. I want to be sure I show a couple more slides, but I'm going to stay on the line for a bit. Be sure that I can answer any more questions. But you know, our thought is don't get started with content yet. You know, obviously review, make it fun so they want to join in. You could use a Google form like this one. I'm going to put an example of this one. See if that'll open up nicely. No, of course not. Okay.
I have a question, please. I have a question also.
Well,
sorry.
Hold on just a minute. Here's a daily check-in you might want to do with them. Every day they would fill this out. How do you feel today? And this was a Google suggestion on health and wellness. Why do you feel this way? Create one goal for today. Do you need to talk to me? Do you need to teach a conference? So that's a thought of something to do. And also, here's an example. You could set up all your work. Here's just a template someone made for this kind of thing, checking in with students each day. This is kind of a higher level one, right? Give them a checklist of things to do. Let them fill it out on their own asynchronously, right? And then they can turn it into you daily, you know, like a daily check-in form and a daily to-do list. And also, let's see if I have the, here's an example of a template that someone's made to HyperDoc. And this is just something, you know, it's more of an intermediate thing. But they put all their assignments in the same format. Explore, watch the videos, explain, tell me what you learned, apply, you know, do something, make a slide deck or make a Google drawing that shows what you learned, that kind of thing. So these are just some thoughts.
Jerry,
Yes.
can you send us this presentation that you're just showing right now, like those slides?
Yes. I won't know who unless you fill out that lovely form.
Oh, okay. I will. Thank you.
So yeah. Or just email me directly is another thought.
Can you just put in today's Google Classroom?
Yes, that's a great idea.
All of this stuff, can you put it in our Google Classroom that you just made for us right now?
Great idea. I worry about, because we have so many Google Classrooms for our professional development, so some teachers have too many that they've joined as a student. But yes, for this one for sure. And I'll post that code. In fact, no,
I have a quick question. This is Kara. How do you join the Google Classroom you just made just now? I see people joining, but how do you go about it?
All you do is hit the plus button and say join class. Don't say create a class in this case. Wow, this is such a good idea you guys have. Just hit that plus button and hit join class. And now when it asks for the code, this is the one. Oh, thank you, Holly. This is the one you're going to want. So, and that's it.
I have a question, please.
When
you were, this is Lisa. When you were discussing, the other lady had a question about putting, say, like all the PLC members or all of your team in one classroom. We could upload all of our assignments there, and then from there we can reuse 2 specific classes. Is that correct?
You can reuse a post. It's called reuse post. You can reuse assignment for any of the classrooms that you have. You could you could probably use them. I don't think you can use them from ones that you're a student in. That's a good question.
Just because we're for our phys ed class, for our phys ed program here, we're going to try to do, you know, post all of our assignments for the teachers, and then from there we would like to, of course, you know, send them out to our different classes. So is that something that we could do?
Yes. Yeah. And it would really be classwork, create, reuse, post.
Okay. All right.
And then you just find, and then it gives you access. And knowing that there's little arrows in Google that are kind of like file folders and subfolders in a way. So like you could click on someone's classroom, and then you could go into that classroom with the arrows. So those are little arrows at the top where it says reuse post, shows you all of them. So you can go in and out of things with those little arrows. So keeping that in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry, how do I join your class, Sloane Online Learning Test class? How do I join that?
You go to classroom.google.com,
Okay.
right, or the waffle, and then click the plus button. There's a little plus button at the top right. It's a little bit like the plus button on ClassLink. It's a tiny little plus button.
Hold on a second, please. Hold on. So you go to
Jerry, while she's doing that,
you go to the waffle and what else?
Waffle, and then find Google Classroom.
Uh-huh.
After Google Classroom opens, there's a plus button on the top right.
Uh-huh. Oh, join class.
Yeah.
And then put your code. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And let me put the code in here too. Why not? Yes. Questions?
Jerry, when they were talking about copying a post or copying an assignment from one class to another, you started to say that you could only do that if you were listed as a teacher in the class and not a student. So can you clarify or tell us what you were thinking there?
Is that if you are a student in like this class, you may not be able to reuse my posts if I gave you assignment.
Okay, so the PE teacher that was talking, she would have to make sure all of the teachers at her school are listed as teachers in that Google Classroom. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's why that people, you click on people and just be sure that you add them as teachers up here.
Okay, thank you.
I can just put that in, yeah.
I help a lot of teachers at my school, so I want to make sure about that. Thank you.
Yes.
Jerry.
Yes.
Hi,
Yes.
it's Ashley Sharp. I'm actually working with all the elementary PE teachers, so I'm just trying to clarify the PE stuff. So if we get our lesson plans ready through Google Classroom, we can then add all the teachers from our site to that Google Classroom and then won't have to push it out individually, or we would still have to send codes out to students.
So one more time, you're going to say it again.
So I'm a PE teacher at Buena Vista.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of making a K2 classroom and a 3-5 classroom. So to make it easier on myself, instead of trying to push out a code to say 300 kids, I can add the K2 teachers to my K2 classroom and then add the 3-5 teachers to my 3-5 classroom instead of worrying about getting those codes out.
Absolutely, and then they push out your assignments to their kids. Now it's on them to assign your work. Yeah.
So then the results of those assignments that will still show up in my Google Classroom as well, or no?
No. No. That's a good question. Now the other thing they can do,
Ashley, when you do that though, you have to make sure when you add your K-2 teachers or your 3-5 teachers that you're adding them in the teacher list and not as a student.
Yeah, I knew that.
But also they can add you back. Why not? And that way you could scroll through. You'd be scrolling through their assignments, of course, but then you could find for each teacher that PE assignment that they gave.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see because I had to present to all the elementary PE teachers on Wednesday to kind of see what the best mode is. Because at my school, all the teachers are going to push out my codes. But I'm trying to see across the board what's the easiest way to do it so I can help some of the teachers.
That's a good question, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with all that. What are you doing when you're collecting the work from the kids? What are you collecting?
Well, mine's more of journaling. Like I'm going to give them activities to do each day, and it's more like them physical activity journaling. And then I'm going to Google Meet with them once a day to kind of check in and see what they did and how they're doing. Because we have that 20-minute requirement too. So I'm checking in with K2 I'm going to go longer, but I'm going to check in with each group each day to kind of see what they're doing to stay active.
Okay. I would tend to want to say that think about what's easiest, but you might want to actually come back to having each teacher invite you and then scrolling, finding that assignment.
Okay.
Because you're not going to get student input. If you share with teachers and then they take your assignment, which is great, and then push it out to their kids, you're not going to see what the kids have done.
Yeah.
But they really can add you, and then the trick is, of course, you'll have to find where it is, and maybe they can make a topic. Here's another thing to know, and I'm still screen sharing. Okay, so when you go to classwork and you go to create, and let's say I'm even going to practice with this one. If I say edit assignment, I can actually add a topic right here. So I could have them put, and if they're not good at Google Classroom, maybe it won't work that well. They could put PE.
Yeah.
So now when if I go to assign it, and then it's going to come out, I don't know if I'll be able to really show you on the student end. I put assign. Now if I go to classwork, here it is. It's on PE. Now, if I didn't give it a topic, it's going to float to the top. But if I have topics, and let's see if I could show you a class that has topics in it. All right, I'll go over here to another classroom. Okay, so here's my news and media literacy class. So when I go to class, see, the stream is just a bunch of stuff. So it's a little bit of a pain, which is fine if you just want to make an announcement. But classwork, I actually have these topics. So these things didn't get a topic. They floated to the top. But everything else, it's almost like a folder. So they could have PE. You could scroll down in each class. Of course, hopefully, I don't know how many
classroom teachers could have ELA, they could have math, they could have, okay.
Absolutely. And that's kind of, we didn't talk about that in the beginner class, but that's a real powerful thing. And then students can go. In fact, one thing that's kind of nice is your topic is week 2 or April 4th or whatever day we start. You could have a topic for each day. And then the students go to classwork, find the day, and then they have their list of things to do, which hopefully isn't too many because we have that time limit.
Because I think PE teachers too, we could even do it like we could have yoga, we could have fitness, we could have different things that they could do where they can choose their activity. Because our thing is we just want them active, but the district wants to see that we're actually producing something that they can tangibly download and look at and stuff like that. So I'll work with it and see. I might email you and reach out.
That sounds good. And then we can get more into that. The whole student choice thing is a powerful thing in any setting, but certainly right now, because some students are going to have a hard time. They're going to have a noisy household. They're going to have a tiny household. There's just so many different variables that they're working with. So the choice is cool. I like that.
Ashley, I think it's really important, though, that if we invite, our PE teacher to be in our classrooms, that you mark everything saying first PE and then yoga, or PE and then, whatever you're going to do.
To be honest, thinking about it logistically, I think I'm going to have the teachers make their own Google Classrooms in a K2 and a 3.5, and then just push out the codes through you guys so we can have our own, so we're not impeding on what you do.
Oh, that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, and the kids can have more than one class. I mean, some people will make a class, even in elementary, for language arts, and then one for math. But at the same time, I think having a single stop location for students to get started with this online learning is going to be helpful, because if we send them too many places, I think it's going to be confusing. And having that one, that's why Google Classroom makes a really nice place to begin. You could post in the stream even, please go to your PE class.
Yeah.
Or here's your checklist for today, PE. Here's the name of the class. Here's the code. So that's something to keep in mind. There's so many little things that we're going to have to kind of, I don't want to say jury rig, because that's not the right idea, but come up with a new way of looking at it and a new way of handling it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, making it fun and relevant. And I got this from a different district from some chat I was in. If you don't overload students, create a plan, cut it in half again. You know, we've got those please don't exceed these limits thing. And if we make it fun at the beginning, then they'll want to come in and they'll like that learning. You know, and let them be curious, let them do, you know, Genius Hour, 20% time, where they research something they're interested in. I do have a few of these. I'm going to put them in the, I can send out the slide deck, and I can also put these in. I'll probably list them as material. Material is something in Classroom that you don't have to turn in anything. So if you go create and you go material, it's just a link. And so that's something to know. You can do that in the stream, or we can just do that right here in class. We can give it a topic. Material might be resources. So, and in fact, I've done this here, resources and curriculum. So I can actually make that a thing, because we do have, let's see if I go back to this. I do have a few: Google for Education, Teacher Center. There's, you know, tutorials and how to use Google Classroom, but please do, we're here for you. You know, reach out to me, us. Distance learning resources that they have.